Peace, family. I did a video a few days ago talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and I got two interesting feedbacks from it. One from a female viewer. She said that a lot of people I know is going to scroll past your content because of the length of it, but they really need to pay attention to it to hear the truth. To that, I say thank you. I appreciate it. And wouldn't that be a sad testimony for our people who are looking for solutions to their problems, to avoid them only because my content is longer than the 30-second soundbite? They lack the patience to listen. Well, we can give vital information on how we can do for ourselves. Wouldn't that be sad to stay in a situation longer than necessary just because we lack the patience? It is. The second is from a brother of mine. He said that, where do we begin? Where do we start? You know, to that I say this. Where we begin is where all your decisions begin. At some point of certainty or uncertainty. At some point, your belief in something either allows you to continue what you're doing, or your belief in something falls to the point where now we got to change what we're doing. And I'm of the mindset that we are way beyond the point of uncertainty to continue this country's definition of how life should be. And I'm gonna go back to slavery. When this country fought to end slavery, the initial president of the United States, after thousands of people have died, the initial president to start this new union was an enslaver himself, who currently had slaves in his possession. How serious could this country be to be the beacon of the world while you still have slaves on plantations, and you just appointed an enslaver with slaves as your initial president? How does that differ from what you were before? When you look at the fact that the slaves stayed on the plantation for 90 years after this country's inception, and then giving them another 100 years of Jim Crow after you freed them. Like I say, my point of uncertainty is historic, and nothing currently has been done to change my opinion. Because the fact of the matter is this: when you look at the plight of black people to get and struggle to get respect, dignity, a respectable quality of life, rights, freedoms, and privileges, that's their inalienable right. White people have always had three choices. They could have kept the process the same and said to themselves, we didn't just had a 300-year head start on black people. It would take them decades, or they may never catch up with us if we just do things the same, just keep the process the same. But they didn't do that. They could have shown some empathy and said, you know what, we've deprived these people of every human dignity. We've made their children slaves for generations. Let's make the process easier for them so they can get acclimated quicker, and we can focus on getting them back into society. They could have chosen to do that, but they didn't. Or they could have said, you know what, despite the fact that these people have been enslaved for the last 300 years, deprived of every human decency, kept from reading, writing, it was a penalty of death. But you know what? That's not enough. Let's make the process for them to gain back respect more difficult. And that's every single choice that whites had to offer blacks a path to decency and respect. They chose the latter. They could have left it the same, they could have made it easier, or they could have chosen, and every freaking time they chose to make it harder. This is why I say that my position is we are way beyond the point of uncertainty in this system for us to decide or make it be a struggle to continue doing it this way. This is absolutely ridiculous. And then when you look at the president that you just elected, the one that you say is going to get everything right, is literally a felon, convicted of discriminating against black people. How do you elect any president who was found guilty of discriminating against any people president of the United States? Can do only people who have no sympathy, no empathy, no concern for others could elect a person that in their private life chose to deny a particular race of people the common decency of putting a roof over their head. We have not reached a point of uncertainty to choose to do better than this. You know, there was an episode of Law and Order where an aspiring lawyer who had visions of him becoming a judge, he was trying this high-profile case, and he saw winning this verdict was his opportunity to get to the bench, and he won this case. And 3 days after, he applied to the district attorney to become a judge. And he got his judgment. He got his opportunity to take the bench. And now years later, a case come up that looked back at his earmarked verdict that launched his judicial career. Now it's in question. And Jack McCoy was going to use this leverage to force this judge to change his decision. Jack McCoy literally put this judge in the courtroom to have another judge decide his fate. Do you have any idea how much overwhelming evidence that you would have to force a judge to remove the stewardship from another judge? You have to have so much overwhelming evidence that it would be almost impossible for this guy to decide against another judge. This is the state that this country is in right now. When you have pedophiles in the White House and all throughout the administration, either they're pedophiles or they're there to protect pedophiles, about to cast judgment on Jeffrey Epstein and his crew. Do you know how much evidence that you would have to find enough evidence to force these people to convict these other pedophiles? It will not exist. This is the choice that people have to decide, to continue this calamity or to proceed further. To do something else. We can no longer continue. To that I say this. On Law and Order, when the judge said there is a certain level of certainty that the people must have, they would not accept the verdicts coming from the bench if they knew that judges would put their verdicts, their judgments, and use it to enhance their career. They wouldn't accept the verdicts. And you will force the people to look for alternatives. This is exactly what we're facing right now. How do you accept going forward when you are led by pedophiles that's trying to decide the future of other pedophiles, and while the people still got to have faith in this system? This is absolutely ridiculous. Like I say, to me, this decision was made a long time ago, and it's time for a new system. It's as simple as that. But I'm going to end this video here, and as always, these are my thoughts, my opinions. I invite you to leave yours in the comments, and I'll see you in my next video. Ashe.